Today on Papaw's Projects, we're going to do another episode of Practical Prints. So stick around and we'll get started. Okay, so today's practical print episode is going to be a practical use for a microwave magnet. Now, I scrap out microwaves anytime I find them, and I keep the magnets out of them. Inside every microwave there's 2 magnets. Now, I'm not telling you to do this because there are dangerous components inside a microwave, and I would not recommend getting into the microwave unless you know what you're doing. I save these magnets, and I want to design something for the 3D printer so that I can make a practical use of this magnet. And it doesn't have to be a magnet from a microwave. It can be any large magnet, I would imagine. So you use your own judgment. Before we get started, I do want to ask you though, if you would please take the time and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow my channel to over 1,000 subscribers. So please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell if you'd like to receive notifications anytime I upload new content. So, that being said, let's get started with the project. First thing we're going to have to do is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to switch over to Blender. And once we're in Blender, like I do with everything in Blender, I always delete all of the extra stuff. I have my Blender set up so that it doesn't even make the cube. You can do that in your user preferences. I tell it not to put the cube on there, and I tell it not to put the camera. And I thought I had not to put the lamp on there, but I'll have to go back in there and fix it. It does put the lamp, so I delete the lamp. That way I start with a clean slate, no clutter in the way. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to Ortho View. As I've said before, I like to operate in an Ortho View. Keeps everything squared up and straight. No weird angles. It's just easier for me to follow. And I'm going to start out with a top view. And this is where I always start. So we are going to first design a copy of the magnet, and then we're going to build around the magnet. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over and hit the create button, and we are going to create a cylinder. And that cylinder, let me measure the magnet. Looks like the magnet is about 63, 64 millimeters in diameter. So we're going to make it, let's just call it 66. So we need a radius of 33 and a depth, looks like about 13. So we're going to call that 15. I'm going to make the magnet a little big. What we're going to build here has quite a bit of room. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit sloppy inside there. So what did I say, 15? Yeah, 15. So that's what we're going to start with. Okay, and then we're going to zoom out so that we can see the whole thing. There you go. That is our outer shape of our magnet. Okay, now we're going to put a hole in the magnet. As you can see, there's a hole in the magnet, and that's what we're going to use to mount the magnet, is that hole. And it looks like it's about 21 millimeters. So I'm going to call it 20 millimeters, just so I got some tolerance. So what we need to do next is we need to create another cylinder, and we're going to call this one a radius of 10, and the depth I'm going to make 40 so that we can see it stand out. And then what we're going to do, which we've done in the past, we are going to click on the outer magnet. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and take the time here. Let's take this and rename it to magnet. Pretty easy. Just click on it and right click and rename. Okay, so we're going to take the magnet, select it, then we're going to select the tools, the wrench, and go to the Boolean modifier, and we are going to use difference because we're going to delete something, and we are going to delete the center cylinder from the magnet and apply it. Now we should be done with the cylinder. Let's delete it, and it's done. So there is our magnet. Pretty good. Now in the end, we aren't going to print this. We're just using it to build our design around. And what I'm hoping to build, 7 takes you to the top view, 1 to the front view. What I'm hoping to build, I had one of these years ago at a place where I worked, and I've seen them in catalogs and stuff, is kind of like a can that this magnet is in, and it goes up and down, and there will be a T-handle coming off the magnet, and then the can will have a handle, so you can carry it around by the can handle, put it on the floor if you've got nuts and bolts and screws and stuff scattered all over the floor, and they will all stick to the bottom of this magnet inside this can. Obviously the can's going to be plastic because we're going to print it. So then when you go to release it, you just take the T-handle and you pull it up towards the can handle, and that magnet coming away from the face of the plastic would cause all of the nuts and bolts and screws to fall off into whatever container you decide to put them in. That's my goal. So let's see. I guess the next thing we need to do, I'm going to hide the magnet by turning the eyeball off so we can't see it, and we're going to start on the can. And we're going to start the can with a cylinder, and then that cylinder is going to be bigger than the magnet. So let's go 66. Let's go about 76. So let's make this 38 on the radius, and we're probably going to need 80 millimeters. Let's say 80 millimeters. Of room to travel. Okay, so there we have a can. Now that's a solid cylinder, so there's nowhere for our magnet to travel up and down here. So we need to carve out a place for the magnet. So let's do that by, well, let's give this a name. Try and be a little more organized right from the get-go, and rename this to, this will be the body. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another cylinder, and we are going to make it 75 tall, and we're going to set the diameter to 35. And then we are going to raise it to the top a little bit because the second cylinder is 5 millimeters shorter. So we're going to make it 2.51. We're going to offset it so that it pops out the top just a hair. Okay, now we're going to take the body and add a Boolean modifier. We're going to modify that body by deleting with difference the inside cylinder and apply it. Now we should be able to get rid of this cylinder, and that leaves us a can. I think that will give us what we want. So there's the body. Alright. Now inside this body, let me take the magnet and turn it back on. There's the magnet. And it will travel up and down inside the can. Alright, now while we're at it, let's throw in a few new things. Let's take the magnet, and I'm going to go over this toolbar and use the scroll, and this little ball right here is your material ball. So let's get some material here in a list. Let's say the real magnet is kind of a black, so let's go black. There's our magnet. Okay, and let's add another material while we're here, and let's make it, let's see, I'm going to make it out of, I'm going to try the 3D Solutech Aqua Blue. So let's pick us a blue. Okay. And so we can tell the parts apart. Let's go ahead and make a few different blues. New, little lighter blue, and new, little darker blue. There we go. That'll work. Let's try that. And let me give it another. Let me have another color. Let's just add one more, just to be safe. You know how I like yellow. Let's make a yellow. There we go. So that gives us several colors here. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit 1 on the number pad, and I'm going to select the body, and I'm going to assign it a color. We're going to give it the dark blue. Okay. Now I got my magnet and it still travels up and down. So we're good. Now we need, let's get rid of the magnet. We'll just hide it. And we're going to need to put a hole in this can, because actually that is the top right there. So we need to put a hole in this can for our T-handle to go through. And let's see. Let's take and make another cylinder. Now let's make a cube. Nah, let's make a cylinder. Okay, so this cylinder, and this is going to be our hole for the T-handle. And we want the T-handle let's say let me look over here at this ruler here. Let's just give it a 10mm hole. They give us plenty of room. So we're going to say 5 by 100. That's just an arbitrary number I put in there. I want it bigger than my model so that I know I'm passing through wherever I want to cut the hole. So we're going to take the body, go back to our wrench, Boolean modifier. We're going to delete with difference the cylinder and apply. Now we can delete the cylinder and we have our hole. Now if you wonder why I continuously delete the cylinder instead of just move it out of the way and use it to drill other holes, for some reason Blender does not give me the little screen here, or I've not been able to find it anyway, where I can set the diameter and the depth of my cylinder easily. So it's just easier to delete it, and when I need a new one I create a new one, and then it gives me that data box to put my measurements in, and that's just the way I've learned to do it. So there we have our hole for our T-handle to go through. Now let's make the T-handle. So let's turn the body off. We'll hide it. And we're going to create a new cylinder. And we're going to make it, let's say 4. We made a 10mm hole, so this has got to be smaller than the hole, so this will make it 8mm. And 100, I've got 75mm of travel inside the can so far, and then another 25mm or 2.5 centimeters sticking out of the can, so that'll probably be okay. Alright, now let's take and make a new cylinder. We're going to leave it at 4. We want the diameter to be the same, but we do not want it to be 100. Let me measure my hand here. My hand is, well, it is about 100, but I don't need to get my whole hand in there. Let's say 75. So let's make this one 75. Okay, and then we're going to rotate it by hitting R, Y, 90, 0, or enter, I'm sorry. And let's see, we should be able to, right now it is dead center of this 100. So I need to take it up to the top. Let's hit N on the keyboard. We can also hit this little arrow right here, or N on the keyboard. That gives me a transformed section where I can change the dimensions, the scale, the rotation, location. And we're going to change the location by taking it up 50, which should put it right at the top. Perfect. Okay, so I like the looks of that. Let's mold these into one piece, and we are going to do that by taking this one and let's rename that, and let's see, I'm going to call this trigger. This will be the trigger. Okay, and then this one, I'll click on it and you'll see it light up over here as cylinder 1. So I'm going to take the trigger and I'm going to use the Boolean operator again, but this time I'm going to say union because I'm going to add the other one to it. Whoops, wrong. Add cylinder 1 to it. That's what I wanted. So I have the trigger is going to union with cylinder 1. Apply. Now I should be able to delete cylinder 1. And I have one piece trigger. Okay, now let me turn on the body. Oops. Our trigger's upside down. Huh. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take the body and let's rotate it on the x-axis 180 degrees. That's more like it. And then the trigger goes up and down. Okay. So we're getting closer. And then if I want to turn the magnet on, there we go. Now that's too low, so let me do this. Just for playing a little bit here, let me show you another little command. I'm going to take the trigger. No, I'm going to take the magnet first, because it's critical on which one is the very last thing that you select. So I'm going to select the magnet. I'm going to hold the shift down and I'm going to select the trigger, and then I'm going to hit Control P. Set parent, and I'm going to set that parent to an object. Now when I click on the trigger and raise it up and down, uh-oh, I did something wrong. Let me try it again. Magnet, trigger, Control P, object. Now if I select, there we go, the trigger, the magnet goes with it. Okay, so you're starting to see what we're doing here. Some people may have seen these before. There'll be a bottom face here, and the magnet will be right here at the bottom, and everything will stick to it, but when I pull up on the trigger, everything will fall off. Okay, now if I want to release, now we'll leave the parent on there. Okay, so I'm gonna I need to release them. So let's take the trigger and Alt P, clear parent. Now we're back to normal. Well, magnet, Alt P, clear parent. There we go. So now they're back separate. Let's turn off the body and let's turn off the magnet. Okay. So now we need to build some keepers to keep that magnet on the trigger. So let's take a cylinder, and let's set it at 20 by 5. That'll work. And hit enter. Okay. Now let's take another cylinder and let's make it 30 by 5. And let's offset it by -5. -4. No, -5. Okay, now let's see if this works. I may have had to create a little overlap, but we'll see. They should be touching exactly. So let's take this one and let's rename it to Keeper. And then we will take and have a Boolean modifier, and let's glue the two together with union. And we will be adding the other cylinder to it. Say apply, and then we should be able to delete the other cylinder, and that leaves us a keeper. And now let's turn on the trigger. Perfect. Now let's turn on the magnet. Perfect. Now let's turn on the body. Very nice. So let's give this keeper a color. Okay. Now let's turn off the body, turn off the magnet. Okay, so there's a keeper. Now we need to make some way. We need to make some way to get this keeper attached. So let's do this. Let's say keeper and go back to our tools, Boolean modifier, difference of the trigger, and apply. Okay, now if we take the trigger and pull it out, we should have a hole. And we do, but it did not go all the way through. So let me Control Z back, and let's make sure that we are all the way through before we do the operation. There we go. Hell, we can bring it way down here. Okay, so now let's try that again. Keeper, Boolean modifier, subtract the difference from the trigger, and apply. The only difference is we are cutting our hole with the real part instead of a throwaway cylinder. So that put it through. There we go. Okay, so we have our keeper, we have our trigger, we have our magnet, and we have our body. Now, do we want another keeper above the magnet? If so, we can click the keeper. Shift D will give us another one. Enter. And then rotate X 180. Enter. And up we go. There is another keeper. That was pretty simple. Let's turn this magnet back on. Let's bring this keeper down into the hole. And let's bring this down into the hole. Okay. Now, let's see what we want to do next. Let's go ahead and bring the body on for a minute. So we're making progress. The next thing I need to do let's make a bottom for this. Okay, so we're going to click on that and we're going to double check our dimensions, which is 76 millimeters. So let's take, let me go ahead and turn off the keeper and the keeper and the magnet and the trigger. So now we're just left with the body. And let's take another cylinder. Oh, see, that's what I was talking about. That cylinder. Now I don't have that menu here to set my diameter and all that. Although I might be able to do it over here. Let's see if we can do it over here. 30 by 30 by 5. And that one is 76. Yeah, we should be able to. 76. So let's make this 10. And let's make this 76 plus a little bit of wall around it. Let's go say 3 millimeters. So 76 plus 3 on each side is another 6, so 82. 82 by 82. Okay. Now, let's bring this down. And change the location. We made this 10. Let's come down into it halfway. Let's say 45. Let's call it 40. Now, what I just did there was I highlighted the body, found out where its location was, and lowered it by 5 millimeters and a few pennies, just slightly over 5. So now it's embedded into this. That's not going to work. That's not going to work because it's only an edge. It's not a solid cylinder. So we're going to do it the hard way, or the easy way, whatever you want to call it. Let's turn off the body. We'll remember that it's 76. So we're going to turn off the body. We're going to create a new cylinder, and it's going to be .38 by 40. Okay, and then we are going to raise it 25. So now we're going to take this. Let's go ahead and rename this one. And we'll call this the cap. Okay. So we're going to take the cap and we are going to subtract the cylinder. Apply. And now let's delete the cylinder. Hopefully we have a cutout, and we do not. So we're going to use Control-Z, and we're going to click on this, and we're going to lower it 5 millimeters, and we're going to say 20 instead of 25, and lower it. Now let's try it. The cap minus the cylinder, and apply, and then delete the cylinder. Something's up. That looks weird. So, Control-Z again. Let's delete it. And delete it. And let's make the cap again. Let's try that again. So cylinder, and we're going to make it 38. $76. $22. No. 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, so 41. Let's make it 42 by 10. Okay. Alright, now I'm noticing that we are way off our plane here. Let's get back onto this plane so we can have a little more reference. We're going to do that first by saying Shift S, cursor to center. And that puts our cursor down there in the center of that grid. Then we're going to do Shift S again and say our selection, which is our cylinder, to the new cursor. Now we're back on track. We're back centered up. So here's our cap. Let's change the name again to cap. And now let's try and turn it into a cap by making this 38.05. Excuse me, by 20. Okay, and let's offset it by taking it up 10. Okay, so now let's try this operation again. Cap, Boolean modifier, difference, cylinder, apply, cylinder, delete. And there we have it. Okay, now let's assign the cap. Let's go over here to the materials and let's give it, I don't know what color we used. Let's try number 2. Okay. So now we have our cap. We have our keepers. We have our magnet. We have our trigger. And we have our body. Okay. So let's bring this down. Let's bring this down. Bring that down. There we go. It's coming along. Now, what do we have left? We have to make a handle, which is not going to be as easy. Let's go ahead and take a cube and let's change it to 10 by 10 by 10. Okay. And now let's take the X measurement. We know this is 75, so let's try it at 100. The X at 100, or that was the Y at 100, my bad. X 100, there we go. And Shift D, enter. Rotate Y 90, enter. And offset it X. $55. 60, no, 55. 55. And Z, we're going to take it down 50, so 59.568. 59.568. Nope. $63.568. Nope. So we're just going to eyeball this one. Shift in the center mouse wheel allows you to pan. Just the center mouse wheel lets you rotate. And that looks pretty good. Now we're going to Shift D, enter, and we are going to Shift D, by the way, creates a duplicate, and we're going to say negative 55. Which puts it over there. Okay. So now let's take and join all these into a handle. So let's take this, which is cube 2. This is cube, so let's rename that as handle. Rename. Handle. Okay, so we're going to take the handle and we are going to go to the tools, Boolean modifier, union, cube 2, apply. Now we should be able to delete cube 2 because we're done with it. And now we take handle, modifier, Boolean, union, cube 1, and apply. Now we should be able to delete cube 1, and there we have a handle so far. So let's scroll out here and see what we got. Okay. Now, got to figure out how to attach it to the body. I don't want to try to print it all in one piece. Well, I could, I guess. No, because then I couldn't get the handle in, could I? If I attach this handle to the print, let's go ahead and make the handle, give it a material, and here we go. We're going to use my yellow. Okay. Decisions. How to attach it. If I attach it to the body, would I be able to get this trigger in? You know what? No, I don't want to do that because I want to print it with this flat side on the bottom. So we're going to have to come up with some kind of a connector or something. So right now, let's take this handle and let's change the X to 96. $95. $92. Okay, that might work. Okay, so let's turn off the body for now. And let's create a cylinder. And let's make it two by 4. Okay, let's rotate Y 90. Okay, now let's take this and put a couple little nubs on there, and we will move it X negative 50, too much, X negative 40, X negative 30, well, negative 35, negative 36. Now let's see if it's touching. Nope. Negative 36.5. I think it's touching now. So let's do this. Let's take the handle and attach the nub, union, cylinder, apply. It worked. Okay, now let's take the cylinder and make it positive 36.5, put it on the other side, and let's take the handle and attach another nub. I think this might work. Okay, union, cylinder, and apply. Okay, now if we take the cylinder and let's raise it up 10. This is E10. There we go. And let's do it again. Handle, Boolean, union, cylinder, apply. Cylinder, negative 36.5. Put it on the other side. Handle, Boolean, union, cylinder, apply, and now we're done with the cylinder. Delete. Okay, so there's just a handle that we can just snap on. Now let's bring the body back. And let's go right about there. And let's go look and see, are they penetrating? They are penetrating. That looks pretty darn good. Okay, so let's say the body let's take the body and let's delete anywhere the handle is penetrating. Apply. Okay, now if I move the handle out of the way, I should have holes that exactly match. Perfect. Okay, now we got to look at the trigger. I'm afraid the trigger is wider than my handle, and it is, but that's okay. We can fix that. That is the X direction. We're calling it 75. Let's change that to 70. There we go. Easy enough. Okay, now let's turn on the cap. And we have keeper. So let's rename that to bottom keeper, which will make this keeper here top keeper. And let's turn it on. Let's turn the magnet on. Okay, there's the magnet. Magnet. Top keeper. Is that everything? Okay. I believe we have a working unit here designed. Or I hope so anyway. We have our cap You know what? I'd like to have that cap a little bit thinner. Let's make this cap 5. That's better. Let's go ahead and make this cap 5 too. That's better. That way the magnet won't be standing off the bottom of the cap as far. Okay, so I think this will be pretty easy to print. This one will lay flat, no support needed. This one will lay flat, no support needed. The magnet we're not going to print, so it doesn't matter. The top keeper is the same as the bottom keeper, really. So we can just flip that over and print 2 of those. This body we will flip upside down and it'll print a flat bottom, and we should not need any supports. I don't think those holes will be a problem, but we'll see. The handle we can lay flat. It may give us a little problem with these pins, but we'll see. This is the only part that I can see that might be an issue. And I think if we lay it flat, it may need a few little supports around the edge. We'll give it a try. For a first draft, I think we're looking pretty good. So there we have it. I will print this out. And show you what I have when I get it printed. Okay, so there we go. I don't have the most experience in Blender or designing things, but it's fun. I'm having a blast doing it, and I think it might work. So about the best we can do is give it a try and see, and if it doesn't work, I'm sure we'll learn something, or I will. So check back with me. I will get this stuff saved and exported out into STL files, and I will get that printer running. And once I have all the parts together, I will do another video and we'll put it together and see if it works. So thank you for joining me. Let me pop back over here. There we go. Thank you for joining me, and I certainly appreciate you watching the video. And again, I would ask that you take the time to subscribe to my channel. Help me break 1,000 subscribers. It would certainly be appreciated. And I'm happy y'all come along. And wish me luck that this thing prints out and works well on the first shot. So we're going to print this in Aqua Blue 3D Solutech, and we're going to see what it does, see if it works. I'm excited. So until I get it printed, I will catch you on the next video. Thanks again.